Everyone, Delta1, new phone, same me. I've just switched over. I've spent like the last few days trying to switch over my my Note 9 to my Note 10 Plus. Haven't quite gotten my camera settings on it where I want it, and I'm still haven't actually gotten. I've gotten everything transferred over. I just haven't gotten everything set up the way I want it yet. But anyway, I had a question. By the way, the camera might shake more. It shouldn't shake more because the Note 10 is supposed to have a better optical stabilization. But I think all that's going to mean for me is because this phone is thinner than the Note 9, and it's also got a thinner case than I had on my Note 9. So it's gonna this here phone holder does not quite grab. It'll grab it, but it won't keep it from shaking. That and the thing is bad too. The actual mount itself is not a good mount. But what that should mean is that that the camera should auto-stabilize quite quickly compared to before, where it will basically bounce the phone, get out of focus, stay out of focus, and I have to either tap the screen or wait a long period of time. Now it should automatically do it really quickly. But I had a question about gas stations that someone asked me to bring up. And the whole deal was that I'm guessing this is a customer that's never had to deal with this, where they saw people when the pump stops and saw people lift their pump upside down, or the pump handle upside down, to get what little residual fuel out of it. And I was asked, what is doing that worth it? Or is there any benefit to that, so to speak, or is that just nonsense? Here's the thing, that is complete and utter nonsense. I'll explain to you in 3 reasons. All right, for one, not every pump works that way. Some pumps do have their shut off at the pump itself, and the line itself is free flowing, and you can actually turn it upside down. But not all pumps do that. Some pumps, the actual mechanism is in 2 places. The pump will stop. There's a check valve in line. So the pump, let's say the pump will stop, but the handle, some of these handles are pressure sensitive. So if they don't have more pressure pushing on it than it has coming back from it as a check back, it won't let any fuel come out. So if the pump's not running, the handle won't let any fuel come out of it anyway. So in a lot of cases, the actual handle, what fuel that's inside of that handle, is all you're going to get out when you do it anyway, not what's actually in that line in most cases. Not every case, just in most cases. That's how the new handles work on these. The second reason is, not only are you risking scratching up your vehicles, keep in mind, a lot of people don't really care about that, but the people that do, you're risking scratching up your vehicle trying to get residual. I keep calling it residual fuel because you're not getting any fuel out of it. You're getting residual fuel out of this handle, and like I said, in most cases you don't even get what's in the line, you get what's in the handle. What's in the nozzle, that when the pump stops, that doesn't crest over that little 45 to fall into your tank. The third reason, which is I consider the most important reason of all of why this is a stupid thing for you to do and why it doesn't make any sense to do it, is because the amount of fuel, I'm sorry, someone turned their bright lights on because they think my lights are bright, and I turn my bright lights on. My bright lights on my truck turns on. My bright lights, bright lights on my truck turn on my bright lights, all 4 of my pod lights, and that's it. So my bright lights and my pod lights. So I get an excessive amount of lights that come off my truck when I turn my bright lights on, and that's because that's my bright lights on. You're not supposed to drive in the city with your bright lights on. You're not supposed to drive facing anyone with your bright lights on. So my bright lights won't be on until I actually need that lighting anyway, so no point in having it not wired that way. But anyway, back to what it was. The number one reason why I believe that it's stupid to do this is because the amount of fuel that, let's say you had a pump that the check valve system does not include the handle, and it's free flowing, so whatever you pull on the handle comes out. For instance, like those older pumps where you turn it on and off on the side and it pumps fuel, and you turn it off, you can hold that handle, turn it upside down, and it'll let some out. Again, that's if you don't have the up-to-date handle. Let's say you could get that fuel out of that line. The amount of fuel that you would get out of that line, keep in mind, this is the most fuel you can get out of it, because if you get the one with the more up-to-date handle, you can't get but what's in the handle. So we're saying that if you can get what's in the line, the amount of fuel you would get out of that will not help you in the long run. It's not going to, here's the thing, it's not going to be one of those, well, if I get this fuel that's out of this line, that gives me another mile or a half mile or so. That's not how it works. Most modern cars work off of this thing called fuel pressure, which is supplied by the pump, which in some cases, the reason I say most cars, some cars will modulate their pressure with a controller, like Ford, with a controller away from the computer. And some cars don't do that. Some cars will actually give you full-time fuel pressure all the time and not adjust the fuel pressure. If I'm not mistaken, a lot of the Ford cars, what they do is they modulate the pressure based on demand, not by giving you full pressure. A lot of them do. But let's say your car was actually giving full fuel pressure all the time. That little bit of fuel that you're getting out of that line is not going to help that pump stay primed. If your vehicle, here's the thing a lot of people don't understand, your vehicle will run out of fuel. When your vehicle runs out of fuel, it's not actually 100% out of fuel. You still have a little fuel in the tank. It's just not enough for that pump to grab and send to the engine. Some vehicles will still have maybe a gallon or a half a gallon still in the fuel tank, and the car will show E, which it should, and it won't run. And that's because even though you still have that half a gallon in the tank, it's not enough to keep the fuel pump primed to allow the pump to put out enough pressure. Some vehicles actually do need a specific fuel pressure to open the injector. Some of them actually have that. And if that pump can't supply that, your car will not run. So that little bit of fuel that you can get out is not really doing anything for you. It's not raising your level enough to make you go further, because when you get low on fuel, that little bit that you get out is probably going to stay somewhere in a cavity in the fuel tank anyway where you can't use it. Two, it's not going to keep that pump primed, because this is what a lot of people don't understand. In most cases, pumps usually have a, the way modern pumps are designed, they're in a bowl that is sitting inside of a bowl. Well, there's a little cup, the pump sits on it, and it's inside of that cup, and it sucks fuel. Fuel gets into that, and that gets sucked out. So that's why in a lot of cases when you pull the fuel pump out, you still have fuel in this cup or in the bowl. Well, that fuel is what the fuel pump will use in a lot of fuel pumps. Some fuel pumps will suck it straight from the very bottom of the tank, which, again, if the fuel is in a cavity, will not allow you to get the fuel that you're trying to get out of that hose. And on other cases where the fuel gets into the bowl to get pulled out, you won't actually be, that little bit of fuel you're getting out won't make it into that bowl. It's one of those things where excess is needed to make something happen. That's why if you run your car completely out of gas, where, I mean, it's starting to buck and then it dies, that's why just getting a gallon of fuel, in a lot of cases, you put that 1 gallon of fuel in, it takes that car so long to get primed and to start. In some cases, a gallon of fuel will not start your car if you run it out of fuel. So you actually will need like 2 gallons or 3 gallons to get the pump primed and get the vehicle to be able to start and run. And that's because you need more fuel to actually run the vehicle at near E than you do when it's running at a normal level. Because the lower you run that fuel and you get near the E of that tank, the pump's gonna be struggling to try to get that little bit that's in the very bottom of it, and that's gonna cause that pump to overheat. And that's why a lot of people, when they run their car dead out of fuel and they put new fuel in it, start it up, the fuel pump works for a little while and then it dies. And then they need to put a new fuel pump in. That's because running it that low for that long and running out of fuel makes the pump overheat. Because even if the pump runs out of fuel, I mean, even if the vehicle runs out of fuel, the fuel pump is going to try to run regardless. So don't do that. Please don't. Like, I just put $15 in this gas hog, and this is where I'm at. This is where I'm at. I'm at not even a half a tank and at 145 miles. Do I regret it? No. Am I sad? No. Do I wish I had a Prius? Definitely not. Well, here's my options. I can either drive this, my Ram, or I can drive that. Which, by the way, gets just as bad a gas mileage as this does. Believe it or not. Both these vehicles are about the same. This has a 3.6 liter V6. That's got a 4 liter V6. But that weighs a little bit more than this. So that has a little bit worse fuel mileage. But they both tow about the same. The truck tows about 500 or so more than the Pathfinder does for obvious reasons. But I wouldn't have it any other way. Peace.